All right, and so if y'all want to kind of do even more intros towards the end, we might have time for that. And so just to be mindful of everybody's time tonight, we're going to go ahead and get started. And so my name is Jared Carter. I'm the programs manager with Alabama's Mountains, Rivers, and Valleys, RC&D. And we're a nonprofit in North Alabama. And we got started in the veteran farmer community through some NRCS programs and then development of a veteran farmer conference here in North Alabama, which led to initiating a program of ours called At Ease Veteran Therapy Farming, in which we connect veterans to farms, and we also have a fund for Alabama farmers, Alabama veteran farmers, to improve their property in return to allow other veterans to participate on their land.
Yes,
So
you listen to this?
that's called At Ease
Veteran
Farming,
farming,
and you can find more about
starting a
that
business,
at
business
ateasefarming.org.
planning. If you don't have to.
And so let's do this for everybody involved. If you're not on mute, let's please mute our microphones. And then
You
if
need
you
to
can
look
speak,
at Abby's Farming. It's a
so.
veteran farming program.
And so, yeah, so we have this veteran farm program for about 2 years now. And so I know several of you, and so this will be Alabama, probably Alabama heavy as far as our participants are, but this webinar is open for anybody. And so based on the registration, we probably have half Alabama and half the rest of the nation. And so even though some of the content here we may reference Alabama, for the most part, it is relevant to everybody. And so before I turn it over, so let me introduce our guest speakers tonight. Rachel Pettit, she is with the Farmer Veteran Coalition, and she'll be talking about their fellowship fund, which is for the most part why you're attending tonight. And then Jared Daniel, he is with the Alabama Cooperative Extension System. He's an agent, and he will be going over kind of the ins and out of how to create a business plan for your farm. So before we get into all that, let me just tell you a little bit. So we work closely with NRCS, and we believe that they are an essential resource for farmers, especially veteran farmers. And so many of you probably have NRCS projects on your property, but NRCS is a USDA branch, Natural Resource Conservation Service, and they offer a program, particularly the EQIP program, and it's full of acronyms. So EQIP is Environmental Quality Incentives Program, but the gist is that they can give financial assistance for farm projects that enhance your farm and also enhance the quality of the environment surrounding your farm. So a lot of it is geared towards like water quality, but some of the projects include feeding lots for cattle, drinkers for your cattle, irrigation and hoop houses for your vegetable gardens. And they have a long list of potential projects. And basically the process is every county has an NRCS contact. You just get to know your NRCS people, talk about what you're doing on your farm, have them visit your farm, and then come up with a plan and apply through their process. And a lot of times they can fund up to 75% of the actual cost of that project. And if you're considered, if you are a veteran and a new and beginning farmer, which is operation of less than 10 years, or if you are considered a historically underserved, minorities, and anything in that category, so check those categories, see which ones you fall under, then that 75% will increase. I won't say a particular number, but it's quite a bit more than 75%. And so just get to know your NRCS people and figure out what the process is of getting some farmland improvements on your land, wherever you are. And this isn't just Alabama, this is wherever you are. And so let me go ahead and turn it over to Rachel. Rachel, I am going, no, I take that back. So whenever you're ready, you can introduce yourself some more and go ahead and share your presentation, please.
Thanks, Jared, and thanks everyone for being here. It's nice to see familiar faces and also to see a lot of new faces and names. Yeah, thanks for spending your evening here listening to us talk about the Fellowship Fund and business plans and some other things. So as Jared mentioned, I'm the program director at the Farmer Veteran Coalition, which is a nationwide nonprofit serving military veterans starting new careers in agriculture. We have about 34,000 members in all 50 states and the US territories. We have a variety of services, so I'll start a little slideshow and tell you an overview of what FVC does, and then we can focus on the fellowship because the Fellowship Fund is, the application is open right now for another 2.5 weeks. So let me share my screen and show you this presentation. Let's see. So membership is free and all of our services are free for active duty and veterans. We also have a free membership for non-veterans that are supporters like partners, family members, and just other supporters. We do a variety of things: career counseling, business planning. We talk about financial literacy. We can connect you with a mentor or find you a mentee if that's something you're looking for. You can definitely email us, let us know what you're looking for. One of the biggest values of FEC membership is the networking, so getting to know other veterans through our conferences, our workshops, that one-on-one mentoring, or also we have a private Facebook page just for FEC members, and that acts as like a in real-time forum where you can do information exchanging and socializing. I also work all year to broker discounts with corporate partners, so companies that you're already buying from that could increase their military discount or set up a military discount just for FBC members. I'm always trying to add to those. So we have about 10 or 15 companies right now that can get you a discount. And if someone is just starting out in farming and they're looking for more training, we can help with placing you in a farm training program or an apprenticeship or an internship, or again, like finding a mentor. One of our main programs is called Homegrown by Heroes. That's our branding program, again, free like everything we do. And that is a label that veterans can put on their products that help consumers differentiate that that product is veteran grown. So you can put that on your farmer's market stall. Here we have Morgan Boyd from San Luis Obispo, California, and he's got his metal HBH sign clipped to the outside of his farmer's market stand for the San Luis Obispo Thursday night market. And that just helps people walking by either recognize the brand or ask you some questions if they don't recognize it. Because as you know, sometimes you might not want to self-identify as a veteran, but it just helps someone understand who you are and what sets you apart as a producer. So that's a great thing to put on your farmer's market stand, or you can put it on a grocery store label, on egg cartons. We have it on maple syrup bottles, wine bottles, all kinds of products. We also partner with State Department of Agriculture. So we have 20 different state partnerships, but you can use HBH in all 50 states. And those combined partnership logos are there on your screen, so you can see, like in Tennessee, their campaign is Pick Tennessee, or Alaska Grown, or Certified South Carolina Grown, Ohio Proud. So we incorporate the state pride of agriculture with HBH veteran pride in agriculture. So feel free to sign up. You can sign up for free for HBH on our website. And then the Fellowship Fund is has been going since 2011. So once a year we open the application, usually in the winter. So this 2022 application opened on January 5th, and it will stay open until February 14th. So you have about 2.5 weeks left to fill out the applications, plenty of time. It awards veterans between $1,000 and $5,000 to purchase farm equipment, and that farm equipment can really run the gambit of whatever is needed. That can be drilling a well, buying a cool bot to make your own cold storage. It can be jars and labels for packaging your honey. It could be beehives, walk behind tractor, flower cutting equipment, all kinds of things. As long as it's in that price range and it's strategic to your farm. Also under that fellowship umbrella, FEC has partnered with Kubota Tractor Corporation for the Geared to Give program. And so 5 pieces of large Kubota equipment are donated every year to applicants through the fellowship. And those range from different size tractors to UTVs. Kubota gives 1 piece per region, per sales region. So they've split the country into 5 sales regions. So Alabama is in the southeast, so 1 piece of equipment is given to that area, and 1 on the west and northeast, etc. We have state chapters in about 13 states right now. It doesn't mean we're not working in all 50 states though. All of our programs are accessible, but in these states where we have state chapters, there's local farmer veterans that are volunteering, like Ron Bridges on this call, and organizing more regional based workshops and just being extra boots on the ground. So if that's something you're interested in participating in or forming, if you don't see your state on here, definitely also reach out and give us an email. And then we have a couple of training opportunities that I won't go too far down this rabbit hole, but if you were in a position where you're looking for more training through a formal program with accreditation or through an apprenticeship or something like that, definitely reach out, because we have some grants that we're working on to match up veterans with official training programs. Here's one of our fellowship recipients, Alex Haragi. We purchased beehives for him here in California. And then second year, we partnered with the Semper Fi Foundation to split 3 ways the cost of this Hummer bee. It's a modified piece of machinery that he's able to operate to move his beehives around. And it is a crucial piece of equipment for him to be able to independently operate his business. So there's a lot of support out there, whether it's our $5,000 or future partnerships where we work with other organizations. Basically, we are just trying to keep up with the requests. And if there is something we can do, we work really hard and we partner with who we can to try to make that happen. Some of our other partnerships are listed on the bottom of this slide. Work Vessels for Veterans is another organization I would encourage you to check out if you haven't yet. They're nationwide, but they're based in Connecticut, and they have an application similar to the fellowship, but it's on a rolling basis. So you can apply year round to get a piece of equipment, and they actually get donated equipment, and then they match up the equipment donation with the requests they received. So whether or not you get a fellowship and you receive the award, I'm sure you can think of a second item that you would need. You can put in a request with Work Vessels for Veterans, and they'll keep your request on file until the day that they may hopefully get that donated. Here's our contact info, and my personal email for work is Rachel. So it's the same format that's on the screen, but it's just my first name, R-A-C-H-E-L. And that's our general support line. So if you call that number during regular business hours, we're on West Coast time, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. You will be able to get one of us on the phone and ask us any questions. We also have member stories on our website that are really inspiring. And I highly encourage you to go to this website right here and then click on the stories button and scroll through. I'm going to stop sharing now so that we can chat a little bit. Well, I'll save questions till the end. We're going to do a Q&A, but I just want to reiterate some of the bullet points. The reason that you're here probably is to apply for the fellowship fund. So again, you have till February 14th. You can find the application on our website. It's going to be pretty straightforward. I would give yourself about 2 hours to fill it out, and it's going to be questions about your military and ag experience, and then what your short and long-term goals are for your business, what equipment you're requesting, how much it costs, and why that equipment would help you achieve those goals that you listed. There's 3 pieces of supplementary information that you'll need to provide. One is proof of service. Another one is a business plan. So Jared is going to chat with you about how to go about starting that if you don't have one yet. And the third is a short answer, a short essay response to short answer questions. So it's just like a short prompt that is part of the application, and you write no more than 1 page to respond to that. So those are the components that you can know ahead of time, just have kind of an idea of what you're asking for, how much it costs, and how to explain how impactful that piece of equipment would be for your business. Yes, eligibility requirements are listed on our website, but basically being an FEC member, which is free. If you happen to not be a member yet, definitely go to our website and join for free. We will check. So eligibility requirement number 1 is being an FEC member, proof of service, whether you're a veteran or currently serving, the request being no more than $5,000. And lastly, we are supporting for-profit farms this year. Our funding is pretty limited to keep up with requests, so we're not able to fund nonprofit farms this year. Hopefully in the future, if we're able to fundraise more, we can change that requirement. And lastly, if you've received a fellowship award before, we are not accepting applications from previous awardees this year, but again, hope to open that up again. If you've only received a $1,000 gift card from Tractor Supply through the fellowship fund, but not a larger amount or a regular fellowship, you're still invited to apply. So if you have any questions, please save them up. I'm going to turn it over to Jared to talk more about the business planning component, and then we'll meet back together to answer some questions.
Thank you, Rachel. So yeah, at this time, I'll turn it over to Jared Daniel. He's with the Alabama Cooperative Extension System, and he will be talking about creating a business plan for your farm. Since it is required, we thought this would be a good supplement to this webinar here. And so Jared, whenever you're ready, you can take it away.
All right, sounds good. Let me pull up my slides here. Okay, can everybody see my slides? Everybody hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can see it.
Good deal. All right, so like Jared said, I'm Jared number 2. My name's Jared Daniel, and I am with Alabama Cooperative Extension System. I'm a regional extension agent, so I cover all of North Alabama. So pretty much everything above Birmingham is my territory. And my area of expertise is kind of farm financials and record keeping. In my program, business planning sort of falls under that, and I hope I can give y'all some helpful information to at least get started if you haven't started working on a business plan for the application yet. And maybe even if you do have a business plan already, maybe I'll mention some things that you might can add to your existing business plan. So one thing I want you to realize when you're working on a business plan is that it's not a chore. I've got a picture of a person standing behind a barbell and some weights there. I want you to understand that this is just as helpful of training and exercise for you as it is for the individuals you're making your business plan for. Okay, going through the process of writing a business plan helps you look through your strategies for meeting your goals, and you may realize that you've either missed some holes when you're thinking about your production or your operation, or maybe a hole in your finances that isn't quite sound enough. But I want you to understand that writing this business plan will not only help you hopefully get a grant, but it'll also make you a better farm business manager. So the main thing a business plan helps you do is it helps you identify and give you a means to achieve your goals. And whether those goals are to make a profit, maybe you have a number in mind every year that you would like to hit for profit. Maybe you want your business to be a pillar of the community. I know that's a pretty influential part of this grant. Maybe you want your business to help support your family, whether that be financially or to provide produce for your family. And maybe you might want to pass down a farm to future generations or other members of your family. Those are all valid goals that you can set for your business. And you can certainly have more than one goal. And then the obvious part of why we're writing a business plan is we can use it to justify applications for loans and grants. I'm going to try to tailor this talk to the best of my ability towards applying for the VFC grant. And one thing I'm really going to talk about and try to emphasize is when you're writing this application, Rachel kind of mentioned, you need to communicate how this grant is going to help improve your business, how it's going to improve your profitability, your production, and therefore how it's going to make a positive difference in the community, our country, our states as a whole. So keep that in mind when you're writing this business plan, to incorporate those elements everywhere that you can. And a business plan is something that we can kind of think of as a living document. I would recommend that you go back and look at your business plan every year to make sure that your production practices, your financial plans, everything that you're doing is going back to trying to achieve those goals that you've set for your business. So if you've done any research on your own about things that you can put in a business plan, you've probably seen a lot of different recommendations on what a business plan can have in it. And there's a lot of different ways to organize a business plan, different places you can put different parts of the business plan, but these are really the 5 basic business plan components. And if you can just have these 5 things, you'll be in pretty good shape, and they don't have to be super detailed. I'm going to throw a lot of things at you that you can put under each of these categories, but you certainly don't have to put everything that I suggest, but just try to have a description for each of these 5 components when you do write your business plan, and that should give you a good starting place at least. So I'm going to talk about what each of these are in the following slides. So the executive summary. Does anybody know what an elevator speech is? Anybody? Any volunteers? This is the interactive part of the workshop.
Yeah, we had a hard time finding the mute button, but yes, we are familiar with them.
Okay.
We do a lot of executive summaries. It's a way to communicate what you know to people who are elevated above you, but probably not as smart as you are.
Okay.
That was a joke. Sorry.
Yeah, I was. Listen,
Hey.
I've been traveling all over the state of Alabama. I've got like 3 brain cells firing, so it's going to take me a little bit longer to get the jokes. But yeah, go ahead.
I was just picking on NASA. I mean, management.
So yeah, when I think about it, an elevator speech is something that if you were stuck in an elevator with somebody and you had just 30 seconds to sell them on your business, okay, 30 seconds is almost enough time to get through one paragraph speaking coherently and slowly. So your executive summary should really be about one paragraph that it tells, in this case, the people who are going to review your grant application, why your business is the most awesome thing on the planet and why they should give you a grant. Okay, so the executive summary, obviously it's summarizing everything, but it really hits the major points of why the grant will be useful for you, why your business has been, first of all, why your business has been successful thus far, what you do, and why the grant will be influential for you to expand or improve your business. So include that in your executive summary, since in this case, we are applying for a grant. And under your executive summary, have a mission statement. A mission statement, the sky is the limit. The mission statement can encompass all sorts of things, but if you had to summarize the goal, okay, what you want your business to mean to yourself and your community, if you can summarize that in one sentence, okay, that's what your mission statement should be trying to do. And your executive summary should also include goals. Has anybody ever heard of SMART goals before? I'm sure somebody has. Yeah. So I'm seeing some heads nodding. SMART goals, the reason a lot of people recommend SMART goals is because it gives you criteria to set goals that you can refer back to and make sure you're hitting. If you don't have specific measurable goals, then it's really hard to measure your progress towards reaching those goals as a business, especially. I mean, it needs to be achievable. It needs to be realistic for your business. And if you're starting out a farm business, in the first couple of years, it's may not be achievable to reach $1 million in net revenue. Depending on the size of your operation, I don't know, some of you may have stumbled into a pretty awesome business idea, but so make sure you're setting achievable, realistic goals for yourself. And setting a relevant goal really can mean a couple of different things, but when I think of a relevant goal, a goal that's relevant needs to be relevant to your mission statement. Okay, so relevant goals are goals that help you achieve that mission statement you gave right above these SMART goals. Okay, so that's what relevant means. Time-oriented, once again, if something is measurable, but you don't set yourself a time frame to achieve it, then how do you measure your progress towards that number or that yield or that impact on the community that you've set for yourself? So you need to set a time frame that you would like to achieve goals in, and those can be short-term, 1 year, 6 months, 1 year, 2 year, or long-term. Okay, so you can set goals that are for the next 5 years or for the next 10 years. And then finally, I would wrap up your executive summary, mentioned it before, why the request for this grant. If you receive this grant, what it will do for you and how it will help you achieve the mission statement and the goals that you've set out for yourself. Okay, the business description is just exactly what it sounds like. You're just explaining to whoever is reading your application exactly what your business is, where are you located, what enterprises you have. An enterprise is just a single aspect of a farm. Okay, so you could be a row cropper and also raise cattle. Row crops is one enterprise, cattle is another enterprise. You have a shrimp farm, that's another enterprise. If you do hydroponics, that's another enterprise. Okay, you get what I'm saying. Some redundancy here, but each individual enterprise, list all of them and describe why they're all important to the business and why, if you are really diversified and engaged in a handful of different enterprises, the business description would be a good spot to talk about why you are so diversified. Okay. Talk about the resources you have available for your business. Okay, so talk about your land and your equipment. And the third bullet, when you're applying for a grant and loan, really is really important. You can talk about your skills and knowledge and your character. Those are really important resources to your business. And those, when people are reading an application, whether it be for a grant or for a loan or for anything in life, really, they're going to be looking for character. Okay, not just the strength of your application in other regards, but they want to see that the person applying for the grant is a good person and an experienced person and a person who's put a lot of effort into acquiring the skills and knowledge to run your business successfully. So think about that when you're writing for resources available. You can definitely include that there. Talk a little bit about your legal and management structure and why you've chosen that structure. So are you a sole proprietorship? Are you an LLC? Are you a partnership? Just describe why you are the business structure that you are. And that should be sufficient. That part doesn't have to be super, super detailed, especially for a grant application, I wouldn't think. And you can talk a little bit about the history of your business and the business description. And this kind of goes back to your character, how did the business start? How has it grown since you started it? What have you learned since you started the business? Will be a really good thing to talk about in this business plan. Okay, next section of your business plan, operations. Has anybody ever seen like a how it's made video ever? I remember one specifically where there's a hot dog one. It kind of never made me want to eat a hot dog ever again. But the operations part of your business plan is kind of the how it's made part of your business plan, but in writing form. Okay, so you're just going to describe in your growing season, in your production cycle, how you go from an unfinished product to a finished product, okay, whatever that may be for you. And you can talk about production practices, what production practices you've implemented to have a positive impact on the community and your surrounding environment is going to be important in this application. And also, it's important to think about how you're controlling the quality of your product through all aspects of your production. So you really should have a justification for every decision you make in production. You need to be able to justify it and have a good reason for it. Once again, discuss any conservation or sustainability practices that you've implemented. I think that's specifically one thing, especially when you're applying for grants that people are going to look at and notice, as if you're taking efforts to implement conservation and sustainability practices. And in the operations section, I would also include some plans in emergency. Maybe your supplier doesn't have a certain input. What's your plan if you can't get fertilizer this year? What's your plan if you can't get a certain insecticide this year? What's your plan if we have a drought? Okay. What if another variant of COVID comes out and you can't reach your market the traditional way you've been selling? Okay, so this is a spot where you can talk about plans you have in case there is a potential for some emergencies in your production. So marketing. A lot of you have probably heard, this is the next section of your business plan. A lot of you have probably heard of the 4 Ps of marketing. But I had a professor one time that described it as the 5 Ps of marketing. And I actually agree with that. I think there are 5 Ps of marketing instead of 4, and the 5th one being people, but I'll talk about that. So in your marketing part of your business plan, you're going from, okay, I have a finished product now. How am I getting my product to the place it's being sold? And how am I getting the people that I want to sell my product to buy my product? You know, packaging, transportation, everything you're having to do in between the finished product and making a sale is marketing. Everything that happens. So the product, why is your product, when you're thinking about marketing a product, why is your product better than everybody else's? Okay, why am I going to buy your tomato or your catfish or anything? Why am I going to buy your product instead of going to Walmart and buying, I don't know, Mexico's product? You know, why is your product better? What do you do to make it better? How are you pricing your product? What's your pricing strategy for your product? And how is that pricing strategy going to make you the most revenue? So talk about that in the marketing section of your business plan. Place, where are you going to sell your product? Okay, are you going to sell online? Are you going to sell at a farmer's market? Are you going to do both? Discuss that in the place part. And promotion. And promotion, when people hear promotion, they really just think of, I think they think of advertising, which yes, if you have plans for advertising, those are good to include, but promotion, this is also a really good spot to describe your networking skills and your relationships and what skills you have to promote your product, word of mouth and relationships beyond just how you will advertise your product, but how you will promote your business and get the name of your business out there and into the community consistently over time. So that's something you can discuss in promotion. And then the 5th P of marketing, this is people. Why is your business, first of all, who is your business targeting as a customer? Okay, who is your main customer? And what are you doing to target that customer? And that can be a lot of different things. You know, my younger generation, we buy a lot of things online. And I know a lot of the older generation does too. My parents have started buying a lot of, my parents aren't old, but they get mad if I said that, but they buy a lot of things online. So maybe if you want to target younger people, you want to sell online. Just think about those things. What are you doing in your marketing plan to sell to the people that you're targeting? And also, another thing you can talk about when you're discussing marketing and people is how is your business, how is the marketing of your business making a positive impact on the people that choose to buy your product? Okay, and how are you communicating that to them? Okay. And then moving on, so those are the 5 P's of marketing. The SWOT analysis, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Basically, who are your main competitors? What are the main potential pitfalls of your business marketing? And how do you address them? Okay, this is like in a job interview when somebody asks, what's your weakness? Okay, and you turn it back around and you describe why your potential business weakness is actually a strength. Okay, and that can mean a lot of different things based on what enterprise y'all are a part of. But describe your strengths. Okay, talk about what you're really good at, why your land is really good for the enterprise you're doing, why your skills and knowledge are additions and strengths of your business. And then when you're discussing the potential weaknesses of your business, I think I was reading through Greg's business plan. I think he has in one of his weaknesses that big grocery stores are a really large competitor to his business. Okay, so acknowledge who your really large competitors are and maybe problems in the market and how you're going to address those. Okay, there's nothing wrong with admitting that your business has weaknesses, especially if you can show that you have plans to address them. Okay, opportunities, it's really wide open here. You can talk about new market opportunities, maybe some future plans to reach some potential markets, some potential people that you're not currently reaching. Maybe there's an opportunity to enter another enterprise that works well with one of your current enterprises. So there's a lot of things you can talk about under opportunities in a SWOT analysis. And threats. Threats, once again, can be larger competitors. They can be potentially, increasing input prices, what we're seeing a lot of now. That could be a threat. Anything that you perceive as a threat to your business, once again, you can acknowledge it, but also discuss what your plans to deal with the threats to your business are. And you can kind of tell that all of these things kind of tie into each other, but you can also, if you really feel like going above and beyond in your marketing part of your business plan, you can talk about a market outlook, short-term and long-term for your business. There's all sorts of places where you can look for data. USDA Economic Research Service is always a really good spot to start looking for commodity prices and data if you're interested in putting some numbers into your marketing plan. And you can discuss some real numbers about what the long-term supply, demand, and prices for your commodities and inputs are looking like. Okay, so moving on to, I believe, the final piece of the business plan, your finances. And this part of your business plan, especially if you're a brand new farmer, doesn't have to be super detailed, okay? If you don't have historical financial positions, then you don't have historical financial positions. What's really going to be important here, in my own opinion, is showing some of your projected yields, costs, and with your prices you plan to set, what your net revenues look like above your costs. Okay, so putting some projections, showing some numbers will give a lot of strength to your application to show, look, I've looked at what my costs are. I've looked at some rising input prices, what I'm going to do about it, my pricing plan to deal with it, and this is the revenue I'm shooting for and the yield I'm shooting for with my business. You'd be surprised in my farm financial education interactions how many farmers have absolutely no idea what their costs are. Okay, you should at least have a decent idea of what your costs are, because if you don't have a budget for what your costs are, then how do you know that the price you're setting for your product is earning you profit, not just revenue, but profit? Okay. And if you don't have historical records for these, use your best estimates, but try to stay a little bit on the conservative side. Don't go too crazy when you're saying, I'll be able to get a really good price, or I'll be able to get a really good yield, because then you've set yourself up for a plan where things go really well. And if things don't go according to plan, they don't go really well. Your budget and your projections might not work out quite the way that you want them to. And this is one more spot to talk about why this grant will allow you to buy whatever, an input, equipment, something that will increase the profitability of your business, and allow you to expand, get more efficient, increase your yields, whatever it may be. And since I'm a record keeping person, I just want to throw in one last point. Financial record keeping really accurate financial and production records will really help you be a good business manager. Okay, let's try to have a record keeping system a little bit better than the shoebox method a lot of people have told me that they're using on their farm, because having good records will allow you to, once again, make those accurate projections and budgets. It will help you understand your costs and make production decisions that will earn you the best profit. And having good records is also really important for, future applications. If you apply for more grants in the future, you have records to back up your projections and your budgets. If you apply for loans, traditional ag lenders are definitely going to want to see some financial records. Okay. And then business analysis, the better your financial records are, the better you are equipped to do some financial analysis of your own business. Or if you end up, if you get to the point where you're making enough revenue to hire an accountant, having better records will make the process easier for them to help you with your analysis. And also taxes. To everybody thinks taxes are a pain, and they are, but if you have better financial records, the process is just so much easier on you at the end of the year when you start compiling everything to pay your taxes. If you keep accurate, organized records, you'll thank yourself at the end of the year. So, Rachel, I hope this was okay. I literally pulled all of these points straight off of the actual application. Okay. And whenever you're applying for an application, just a tip, it doesn't hurt to use the entity whose grant or loan that you're applying for. It doesn't hurt to use their own vocabulary, okay, when you're describing some things in your business plan. So certainly highlight some of these things in your business plan, in your application, because the more they see these things apparently in your application, the more likely you are that you will get a grant, I would think. And then I believe it's a requirement. Once again, I pulled that straight off the application. So unless it changed, Rachel can speak to that, but it should be under 10 pages long. And your business plan, Greg will tell you, your business plan certainly doesn't have to be 10 pages long. Okay. I've thrown a lot at you, and I've thrown a lot that you can put in your business plan. My main goal was just to give you a really good place to start. So it doesn't have to be 10 pages, but that being said, the more detailed it is, the more time and effort you put into business planning, the more you will get out of it, and the more the people reviewing your application will get out of it. So just a few things. Ag Plan, okay, that website is by the University of Minnesota's Farm Financial Management Extension team, and they have put together a really strong business planning tool. All you do is you just make an account on that website and you log in, and it actually is organized by pieces of business plan. So if you enjoy that kind of web-based tool over maybe using Microsoft Word, that would be a really strong tool for you. And it's also something you can save and go back to. And then Microsoft Word does have templates that you can use. I can show anybody that wants to see it in a minute, but it's really simple. If you have the most current version of Microsoft Word, all you do is open a new Word document, okay? And there will be a spot on that page where you can search for business plan templates, and you can literally just click on one and use one of Microsoft's own business planning templates. And if anybody would like to see that, I can figure out how to show you that. And then I found some of Purdue University's publications on business planning really well written and thought out. So I just thought I would provide that one additional resource for you in case I wasn't good enough, okay, and you want to look one more place to see how to write a really good business plan. You can certainly look at other extension websites, and I found Purdue University's publications to be really good. Okay, so I have this is my contact information. If you want me ever to read over your business plan in the future, I definitely don't mind, whether it's just working for, grammatical errors, or if you want me to look for pieces that I think maybe could be stronger, I don't mind at all you sending me your business plan. And it doesn't have to be for this grant. I've never applied for this grant, so I can only speak so much as to what they will be looking for in the application. But certainly in the future, if you ever just want somebody to look over your business plan with you, I don't mind that at all. And this is a link to an evaluation. If you do have just a minute or two, extension, we're really big on evaluation. And if I do a business plan talk again, I want it to be better every time I give it to the next audience. So if you would, I'm going to provide that link in the chat. And if you will just fill it out really quickly on your phone or computer, if you're willing, that would be awesome. And I would really appreciate it. So I hope this was helpful. And yeah, let me know if you have any questions.
Great. Thank you, Jared. And at this time, yeah, we can open it up to questions. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask. If it's about the fellowship fund or if it's about business plans in general. So feel free. I'll keep an eye on the chat. But otherwise, you can unmute yourself if you have a question and ask it. So feel free.
I have a question, if you can hear me.
Yes.
Yeah, for Rachel, the Farmer Veteran Coalition grant.
Yeah,
Can you hear me?
yeah, I can hear you.
Now for your financial paperwork, your business plan, do you want an actual business plan? Because I've submitted 2 to the Farmer Veteran Coalition and asked for them to be reviewed, and I've never had any feedback. But when I fill out grant work or paperwork for the Farm Service Agency of the USDA, I'm required to fill out federal forms, FSA 2038 and 2037. Would those be acceptable?
Good question. So if you're filling out a business plan for your FSA application, you can use the same. We just have the requirement of the 10-page limit, so you might have to pare it down depending on what you're submitting for FSA. About how long are those ones?
They're like 4 pages.
Yeah, so that should suffice. Yeah, you want to hit some of the things that Jared mentioned, like, the executive summary, so we have an idea of
It doesn't have anything like that. It's all just math on the FSA forms.
Fuller, I looked those forms up. You mentioned them in the chat, and I looked them up just out of curiosity. Those are supporting documents for a loan where you're laying out in great detail all your finances.
Right.
But it doesn't actually come up to the level of a business plan that shows your goals and your aspirations and that stuff. So it's good for finances and getting a loan, but the business plan is sort of where are you going with this, right?
I
Where
guess
are you now? Where are you going next? And what do you want?
every year I'm required to fill these out for my farm because I have a loan through the FSA.
Right.
And I still have NRCS grant. But I guess my question is, I filled out normal people business style, what do you call it? Business plans for the Farmer Veteran Coalition, and I've asked for feedback. I've not received any yet. And I want to know if it'd be more acceptable to use one of these forms because I have to fill them out every year. One is like current year, what did I do? And then projected year, what am I going to do next year? If that makes any sense.
Right.
Yeah, well, let me say I'm sorry that you haven't gotten feedback. We don't give feedback at this point, but that is something we're working on. But as you can imagine, we get more than 500 applications and we have a review committee that's all volunteer. So after we get them to volunteer with the evaluations, we haven't been able to wrangle them back to do all of the feedback that's requested. But that is a really important process and it's something I want to incorporate into our program. But for now, we have to rely on partner organizations like NRCS and like consultants like Jared that can give that feedback ahead of the application deadline. So I would say stick with submitting a normal business plan as opposed to the forms that you're submitting for FSA. And yeah, try to perhaps get it reviewed by someone ahead of the deadline.
Yeah, because I had a former grant recipient from the Farmer Veteran Coalition show me his and review mine, and he thought it was acceptable both years that I applied.
Yeah.
And that's why I guess when I submitted it before Michael went out and Janet came in, I thought, oh, this should be a no-brainer, but.
Yeah, what I can say without thinking of your application specifically is unfortunately the biggest reason we can't fund people is a lack of funding, just the competition for funds. We're only able to fund about 1 in 4 of the applications.
Right.
And that gets tougher every year because every year we get a huge increase in applications. This year, I think we're doing pretty good. We did a lot more successful fundraising and brought on new funders. So I'm feeling more like it will be a 1 in 3. But the majority, for most of those 2/3 of people that we couldn't fund, it wasn't due to a faulty business plan or really, there isn't a whole lot we can say to improve.
Oh, right. But I guess my thing is with that, don't you feel the Farmer Veteran Coalition should give some kind of feedback like, hey, I'm sorry, your business plan wasn't chosen, but everything in it was okay and your finances looked fine? Would that be acceptable to ask for, or is that too much?
Yeah, hopefully you got that in the letter where we, inform you that you weren't selected for an award. We do say the main reasons why people weren't. When someone is not selected because they're ineligible, we say that specifically, like, I'm sorry, we're not able to fund a nonprofit, or you didn't submit a business plan, or, when there's a eligibility requirement that leads to a disqualification, we can point to that directly. For the vast majority of the rest, it's that letter that it sounds like you probably received where we point to just lack of funds, which is tough. I know that's not that's a frustrating thing to hear. It's frustrating for us too, but hopefully you got that letter. And I hear you. I would love for our group of advisors to give feedback to every single person, but for now I haven't been able to convince them to do that because they're all volunteers, but I'll keep trying.
All right, thank you very much.
Yeah.
I have a question. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, this is really a situation that it's kind of stifling because we have been a nonprofit for over 30 years. However, I bought a family farm, and I understand the concept of what USDA says because I have received a microloan. and I am under the NRCS program as a family-owned farm. However, my dedication and lifelong mission is to my veterans. So our process of training them through our farm. So there's a conflict between getting funding for the nonprofit to help veterans and to train them, which SBA gave us a loan for that, to train them on our farm. But it appears that there's a problem with not NRCS, Farm Service Agency, in getting a loan or anything under nonprofit. So I have to apply on a family farm, which I understand. So what can I do to either put this together or look at a different light? Because I'm having conflicts when I put in for grants through the Veterans Coalition. I put in for the therapeutic farm for veterans. I did not know that it was not for nonprofits, because I do have a for-profit farm as a family-owned farm. So what, do you have any suggestions?
Yeah, I can speak to the FBC portion of that, and then Jared Carter maybe.
Thank you.
Yeah, maybe I'm just not as familiar with NRCS, but for FEC, so we do have to stay true to our mission is mobilizing veterans to feed America. So our goal for the fellowship is to support people that have committed to agriculture as a way of living and a way to feed their communities. And it doesn't mean that we don't support all of the very many and worthy veteran farming organizations that are structured as a nonprofit. And a lot of them, like Eugene, are from farming families, or they're farming on during the day and running their nonprofit philanthropically on the side. What I would suggest is your family farm, is, as long as you or another veteran is involved in the operation, would be eligible to apply for a fellowship. So you could go that route if there was a piece of equipment or something that you need for the working farm. That would definitely be eligible.
Everything is separate. We have a separate office for the nonprofit on the farm. Our finances, we have a bank account for the nonprofit and a bank account for the farm. So everything is lined up legally the way it is, or else we would not have received money from SBA, and I also would not receive money from Farm Service Agency.
Will you find my phone?
And NRCS. We have.
Can you hear me my phone?
We receive grants from NRCS for tunnel houses, for our well. So everything there is lined up legally. But I'm trying to see what would be more appropriate, because I want to see the veterans program exceed anything else, because we're losing veterans to suicide every day, 31 veterans a day. So the agriculture program helps our veterans, and it's a therapeutic program through our family farm. So that's where I'm needing some advice.
Hey, I could probably help you out more as a nonprofit. So there's a lot of resources for nonprofits, and the amount of grants out there that you could potentially apply for go on and on. And so I can help you out there. We can kind of get together later.
Okay.
Right off the bat, since we run programs through our RC&D councils, I do know that I think in what county are you located in?
We're in Lee County.
Lee County. So Mid-South RC&D would be your local RC&D county, and they do fund nonprofits. And I can get you.
That's in Macon, isn't it? Is that Macon County?
They cover several counties, but their office is in Montgomery County.
Okay. And I want to thank you, Jared, for helping us go to the last agriculture produce conference in Gulf Shores. I want to really publicly thank you for that, because that was wonderful.
Thank you. You're welcome. You're welcome. But as far as nonprofits, there are even USDA federal grants that as a nonprofit you could apply for, especially if you are educating what they term historically underrepresented farmers, and veteran farmers and minority farmers fall under those categories. And so if you are educating them and training them, then you could potentially go after those funds as well. But I can give you a good bit of resources because we're kind of going after similar grants through some of our programs.
Well, I appreciate that because we went from outreach for almost 18 years. We provided outreach in Phoenix City and all those areas, but now it's going to agriculture because we found that this helps veterans that have PTSD. So we wanted to incorporate it instead of doing the outreach to do the farming. So I appreciate that
Yes,
very
ma'am.
much. Thank you.
Rachel, I have a few questions from the chat box. I probably go to you. So the fellowship fund, I think specifically, are these available to Gold Star families, or do you know of any other programs that fall into this category?
Yeah, that's a great question. That is something our board is discussing right now, but probably a decision won't be made until the next funding cycle. But I created a list of other opportunities for Gold Star families as that question has come up a couple times this year. So if that person would like to email me, it's rachel@farmvetco.org, and I can send you a list of other resources.
All right, and another one is when we submit for the grant, do we have to submit the quote for the equipment we're asking for at the time of the application?
You don't have to submit the quote, but it is great to do that research ahead of time, and you can like copy and paste the info from the quote into that box on the application. There won't be an extra spot to submit an additional form, but definitely research the equipment so that you have a good idea of how much it costs and maybe even the brand that you're looking at and that kind of thing, because that will help further down the line when folks are awarded. I do my best to call every single vendor and try to get the best price so that you have even more money to work with on your award.
All right, does anybody have any other questions?
I'll just throw out one quick comment, and it sort of relates to everything we've talked about. When you go for this grant, what you want to do is make sure that your experience, your training, your goal for your farm lines up with what you're asking to get paid for. In other words, if you are a chicken farm and you're raising meat birds and all of that, that's great. And then you turn around and you ask for beehive equipment. That doesn't make sense. So align what you're asking for with what you're doing on your farm already. It can be an expansion, it can be a slight divergent, but as long as it's connected to what you're already doing, I think it makes it a better overall application.
Yeah, great point, Ron. Thanks.
I saw on the FVC map that Alabama supposedly has a chapter. That's news to me. Who is it?
Yeah, good question. I think it might be in the formation phase. I know the colors are a little tricky, but we have Doris Mold is our chapter organizer. So if you want to email, it's Doris at FarmVetco, or sorry, it's chapters, the word chapters at farmvetco.org. And she would be able to put you in touch with it. I have a feeling the Alabama chapter is a bit in the formation stage, but that's a great time to jump in if that was something anyone on the call wanted to be involved in.
Yeah, it's in formation. They had a group that met at the conference in Texas, and they went home to work on it. Greg knows a little bit more about that than I do. Apparently, they went home to work on it and didn't go much further at this point.
Sorry, what was the name of that organization again? And this is Bob with the Full Circle Farm.
Oh yeah, we're just discussing that there is in formation a Farmer Veteran Coalition state chapter for Alabama. So that would be a group of volunteers, which anyone is welcome to participate in. And it would be volunteers organizing more regional based FVC work in the state of Alabama.
Yep. No, I follow you. I was just trying to look up that org one more time. Sorry, I'm getting old. I'm getting deaf. The name of the organization is
So it's a state chapter for Farmer Veteran Coalition. So for
Okay,
us,
thank you.
yeah, Farmer Veteran Coalition.
I know Bill had his hand up. I'll get off.
Yeah, so my question is, if the piece of equipment we're looking for is more than the grant allows for, how does that normally work?
Yeah, there is some wiggle room with that. You can definitely request a piece of equipment that's more, but I would say one of the categories on the scoring rubric is strategic request, and part of that is making sure that the award of 5,000 would cover like the bulk of the price, because we want to make sure that that this grant is purchasing at least most of the equipment. So I would say something like up to $7,000 is acceptable to request, and if you were awarded the full 5,000, you would be responsible for the balance. So if it was 7,000, you would pay the 2,000. But I would really try to limit it to something like 7,000 or less, because anything more than that is going to look like more like we're just splitting the cost, and we want it to be something that we can pretty fully or close to fully cover.
All right, does anybody have any other questions?
And this is just for equipment, or can it be for bees, livestock?
It could be livestock. Yeah, we've bought cattle, bees, goats, pigs, all kinds of things.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Hey, I just want to tell her, Jared and Rachel, thank you very much for giving up your Friday evening. Like I said, I know it was on a whim about 2.5, 3 weeks ago. You know, I called Jared, like, Jared, we need to do this. He said, January's booked. It's booked solid. Let's do this. And then Jared Daniel didn't even know he was involved in this. When I talked to Kristen, and she's like, oh yeah, he'd definitely be interested in helping. And then Rachel, I definitely appreciate your input as well, because this meeting probably wouldn't have been anywhere near successful without having FEC involved as well. So from each of us, thank you all for your time. Jared, thank you for all your hard effort putting into organizing this and all the other events you do here in North Alabama.
Well, thank you. We appreciate it. And anything there is that we can help, I will put my information in the chat box. One question that came in is there an age limit for applications for the Farmer Veteran Coalition?
Nope, no age limit, no service era limits. Yeah, everyone is eligible.
Okay. Well, thank y'all very much. If there are any more questions, I will send out the presentations that have been presented and the link to this recorded webinar to everybody that registered, and as well as the contact information for myself, Rachel, and Jared Daniel. And so if you do have any questions, feel free to reach out, and good luck. We hope that this helped, and we hope that you apply to the Farmer Veteran Coalition and hope you get funded. So I will say good night. Thanks for joining us, and I will be in touch with everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.